R.J. Bell is on. R.J. Bell probably knows more about gambling, how to gamble, how not to gamble, and March Madness than anybody. My old friend R.J. How are you, R.J.?
Hey, Pat. Nice to be on with you again.
Thank you. And March Madness, did you fill out a bracket or?
You know, I did. They're a local show, Kevin and Bean in L.A. I do. They goaded me into it. So usually I don't do a public one because I can't really win. Because if I win, it's like, of course. And if I have a bad year, it's like, oh, look. But I did do one public one.
Now, Steve Gutenberg's here and Andrew Spanswick is here as well. I wanted to talk to you, though, about I don't think, and the reason I want you on is that I don't think people realize how much is gambled during these 2 weeks. Give us the numbers.
Yeah, so if you actually look at the estimate for the global handle, so worldwide, 12 billion, that's with a B, billion, on March Madness. That's more than the Super Bowl. Now, we've got obviously 60-plus games, but still the biggest single event of the year for betting. And what you also have is a lot of people who get involved in a social fashion where they don't really follow college basketball, they don't really bet a lot, but they put $10 in a bracket, and that's at the office, or some buddies are doing it online. So I think there's only 2 times a year that if you don't engage, you're left out. It's with the Super Bowl, and it's with March Madness.
Do you find that, R.J. Bell, do you find that people re-gamble then once these brackets are ripped up, like if you thought Kansas would win? Or?
I think a lot less do. I think that if you're the type that bets at any point during the regular season, so college basketball starts in November, December, January, February, then you're into March. If you're betting any point before March, you're likely going to be betting all through March Madness. There's also a group that only bet during March Madness, but still the spread bettors, the guy saying, okay, tonight, for example, Louisville is a 2.5-point underdog against Northern Iowa. Those guys are a smaller group and gals relative to the bracket. So the brackets universe is gigantic, non-basketball fans, fans, non-batters, batters. But once you get past them, it's the basketball fans that like to bet, which is still a big universe, but smaller than the brackets.
So, RJ, you've been in this business for a long time, right? So,
yes.
Having seen lots of people that gamble, can you give us any insight into what you consider healthy recreational gambling and then when it becomes a problem for people?
It's funny because the old joke is, well, the only problem with sports betting that you could have is if you lose. Because the assumption is, imagine a scenario that you're doing X, Y, or Z, and every week or consistently you're being paid, right? So you make $5,000 one week, you lose $2,000 the next, you make $4,000. So net, if you're winning, it doesn't seem like there's a potential problem. I actually question that, but obviously if you're losing, it's even exacerbated because you've got the distraction and the compulsiveness element plus the practical day-to-day reality of you're losing money and, it's time to pay the mortgage and you don't have the money. And the thing about betting, you've got to bet an amount that matters to you. So for any listener out there, that amount might be $1, it might be $100,000. But if you don't feel that juice, that sense of, oh, I won, that's exciting, or, oh, I lost, isn't that horrible? Everyone has to gamble to a degree that makes where they feel it. So that is dangerous because you're only going to feel it. You could think, well, a guy like Charles Barkley, he's talked, I think, pretty candidly about his sports betting. He's lost a lot of money, but he's made it clear he needs to bet an amount that matters. He bet $500 a game. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses.
No, I've gambled with him. He doesn't care because he's got the money. He enjoy. Those guys will just bet until the 17% winning percentage comes around.
So if you had an unlimited amount of money, though, the problem isn't really with. I mean, I hear what you're saying, RJ, and it makes total sense to me. It's got to be relevant to whether there's a swing or not that matters for you. But what's interesting, I think, is this idea that even if you had all the money in the world, the problem with gambling isn't necessarily the losing of the money. That's a symptom of it. The problem with people that really have compulsive gambling is that they need it, and they need it at the expense of everything in their life, not just money.
And I'd agree with that. To me, the most gamblers lose, and the fact that they're losing real money is, as I said, I think an additional problem on top of the compulsiveness, the distraction. And I'm certainly no professional in areas like this, but being around a lot of guys that's bet a lot of money, and I could make the case with compulsive behavior, it's a distraction. It's that this is what's important, and there's a certain tranquility in that the day-to-day stuff that might frustrate the average person, and listen, I went to college. I was around a lot of drug users in college, like most college kids. You see it, is part of the appeal, it seems obvious, is the distraction, that this is what matters, the other stuff doesn't. I see an analogy with a lot of gambling, where that game, the result of that game is what matters, and the buzz off of that is dangerous.
RJ Bell runs pregame.com. He doesn't endorse gambling, but he lays it out, man, and he is the best in the business. You know what my last question is, don't you?
I haven't heard that. Now, you emailed me this question, but I haven't heard it live for a little while.
Are you in the mafia?
Once again, it's been over a year, Pat, but my attorney says I cannot comment.
I love you, man. RJ Bell, he's the best. Thanks, RJ.
Thank you.
A loyal friend, and he makes a lot of good points there about gambling. And so do you, Andrew. About it's got to be a significant amount. When it starts to affect your life and whether or not you can buy groceries, then that's the problem.
Yeah, and then also, like I said, if you're doing it, even if you have a lot of money, if you're doing it at the expense of other important things like your children, spending time with your children, if you're just so driven and consumed by looking at your phone all the time for stats on games and the score, and you can't be present for things that are important in your life, that's a problem.